Hey everyone, it's me, Ari Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and zoologist. Please hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel, donate the links below. Thank you very much. Check my novels on Amazon. Okay, we are going to read two portions out of the Bible. Okay, we're first going to start with Matthew chapter 17, verse 1 till 13. Again, Matthew chapter 17, verse 1 till 13. I'll read from the King James Version. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. And was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias, talking with him. Then answered Peter, and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, one for Elias. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, whom I am well pleased, hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face, and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them, and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they have lifted their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come, and restore all things. But I say unto you, that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. Jesus called himself the Son of Man. Why didn't Jesus say, when I'm risen again from the dead? It's just the way Jesus spoke, okay? In indirect ways, in third person about himself, okay? So this is clear. Christ took 3 of his disciples, went to a mountain with them, he transfigured in front of them, and they saw a vision of 2 ancient prophets talking with Christ. Because remember, Moses passed away before the Israelites entered the promised land, and then before they buried him. Elijah was taken away. So, and it's written in the New Testament, only the Son of Man ascended into heaven because he descended first. So Elijah is not in heaven, neither is Moses, because only Christ, who became human, entered heaven. So let's continue. We're going to read a report about the same thing, but then in Mark chapter 9, verse 20 till 30. Okay? And it's a second part to it, which I can include in this audio message. Okay. Mark chapter 9, verse 2 till 30. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and lifted them up into a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his raiment came shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can whiten. And there appeared unto them Elias with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. And Peter answered to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, one for Elias. For he wist not what to say, for they were sore afraid. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And suddenly, when they had looked around about, they saw no man anymore, save Jesus only with themselves. And as they came down from the mountain, he charged them that they should not tell no man what things they had seen, till the Son of Man were risen from the dead. And they kept that saying with themselves, questioning one with another what the rising from the dead should mean. And they asked him, saying, What say the scribes that Elias must first come? And he answered, told them, Elias verily come first, and restored all things. And how it is written of the Son of Man, that he must suffer many things, and be set at naught. But I say unto you, that Elias is indeed come, and they have done unto him whatsoever they listed, as it is written of him. And when he came to the disciples, so this is what Christ told them. Okay? Now Christ came down from the mountain with the three disciples to encounter the rest of the disciples. Look what happened now. Okay? And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld them, were greatly amazed, and running to him saluted him. And he asked the scribes, What question you with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which had a dumb spirit, and wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foamed it, and he gnashed with his teeth, and pined away. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answered him and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. And he brought him unto him. And when he saw him, straightway the spirit tear him, and he fell to the ground, and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long is it ago since this came unto him? And he said, Of a child. And oftentimes it cast him into the fire, into the waters, to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us, and help us. And Jesus unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believe it. And straightway the father of the child cried out, and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the false spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried, and rent him sore, and came out of him. And he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand, and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. And they departed thence, and passed through Galilee, and he would not that any man should know it. Okay. So, two pieces of the New Testament. So, understand this. Christ did not entrust everything about himself to all disciples equally. Some disciples were entrusted more than others, as you saw in what you just read. And Christ also could not take all disciples with him on the mountain because some disciples were needed to minister unto people down there. But before we go to what happened when Christ came down off the mountain with those three disciples he selected, Moses and Elijah. Moses, again, he was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. Moses grew up as a prince of Egypt. He later became a pharaoh in Egypt also, because Egypt was not united but divided, so he was a pharaoh of one part of Egypt. Moses, as you know, eventually stood up for the Hebrews, for his people, and he was chased away after Moses killed a police officer that wouldn't listen, wouldn't stop abusing an Israelite. Moses spent 40 years away, and he was defeated completely, but Heavenly Father had to guide him back to Egypt, and under the guidance of the Heavenly Father, he freed the Israelites out of Egypt and destroyed the Egyptian Empire. And again, 40 years he wandered others in the desert with the Israelites because the Israelites wouldn't let go. So, yeah, one generation passed away. Another one came actually 2 generations later. Moses passed away too at the age of 120, and under Joshua and Caleb entered the promised land. Now let's go to Elijah. We have no clue about Elijah's past. We don't know who his parents were. We don't know the occupation of his parents. We don't know what his occupation was. He was called a Tishbite, and there's even debate among scholars where that city was located, so we don't even know exactly where he was born or the hometown he grew up in. We have no idea whether he was married or not. Well, before he began his ministry, we have no idea whether he had children or not. We have no idea if he had the horrible past that he repented of, whether he was a prisoner or not, or we know nothing about Elijah's history. Nothing. Moses, you can find out about his history. He was an adopted son, became a pharaoh, and so Moses was someone you could relate to, because he has a history you can look into. And back then, the Israelites were slaves in Egypt being abused. Moses used to be a Pharaoh himself. And because the Israelites grew up under Egyptian culture, and Moses also was raised as one of the leaders of Egyptian culture, guess what? Moses understood hieroglyphics. Moses understood all of these things. Moses even wrote in hieroglyphics, even spoke in Egyptian language. Yes, he did. Moses was a world leader. And he became again a world leader during the Exodus. So Moses was a public figure you could relate to. Maybe not for the right reasons, because during the 40 years in the desert, people turned him off, but nevertheless you could relate to him. The other guy, Elijah, who came centuries later, when the Israelites were divided in two countries, Kingdom of Judah in the south, Kingdom of Israel in the north. This guy, he has no history. He just appeared out of nowhere on his own initiative, decreeing judgment on the kingdom of Israel. And the judgment was that no rain would fall. So he decreed the doom of the economy, the finances of the whole country. Moses was led by their father, step by step, to deal with Pharaoh and the Egyptian empire. Elijah did not receive any instruction nor commandment from the Heavenly Father. Elijah was a believer that the Heavenly Father entrusted with power, and Elijah took his own initiative against King Ahab, his wife, Queen Jezebel, and the wicked administration of the kingdom of Israel. And guess what? The Heavenly Father never said, Elijah, I never asked you to do that. Elijah, I never sent you. No, the Heavenly Father honored Elijah's initiative. So understand this well. You can take initiatives as a believer as long as the initiatives you take in life are in harmony with the will of the Heavenly Father. Now, in the case of Elijah, the nation of Israel was in deep idolatry. There was a lot of bloodshed bloodshed against the believers back then, amongst the Israelites. So Elijah, being a prophet, take initiative to intervene. The Heavenly Father was fully behind him. All right? And understand this. Moses became symbolic for the law, for things set in stone, like with the Ten Commandments. Even though the Ten Commandments were not God's official plan, it was a secondary provision because the Israelites wanted to keep the Egyptian lifestyle of following codes of life, of following laws. The Heavenly Father made plain, no, you need to be led by me directly. So God gave 10 commandments and the whole Old Testament law to show them you need my guidance. But Moses became symbolic for that. Elijah became symbolic for the prophets as a whole. He became symbolic for initiative, about taking action without any fixed instruction. Think about it. In a society where everything's run by laws, if you want to address something, you go to a courthouse, you press charges, or you send a petition to the king, or a petition to the local magistrate. You don't just act like Elijah did, enforce a sentence on the population without any due process. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having courthouses, with having a societal structure to keep worldlings in check, because worldlings tend to be unstable. Nevertheless, there are times you need to take initiative in the spirit. I'm not talking about just going around overthrowing governments by the use of violence, all of that. I'm not talking about that. I don't talk about armed rebellion. I'm talking about sometimes you need to take initiative in the spirit that will affect the physical circumstances in the earth now. That's what Elijah is a symbol of. Now, why am I mentioning all of this? Because you need to understand the following. Moses had experience with governing. He used to be a Pharaoh, remember, and he was raised by the Egyptian royal family. knowing all about world history and world politics, all of that. So Moses had experience how to steer the masses. He also knew very well you need to come up with a plan when you're dealing with the population. And this also made Moses suitable to both bring the Israelites out of Egypt and to guide them throughout the voyage through the desert. Moses was qualified, despite his temper. They had a bent temper and all the other issues had. He was qualified. Now let's look at Elijah. Elijah was a stranger with no direct ties to the open public. Elijah had no experience with governing at all. Look at what Elijah did. He shut down the sky so no rain would fall. Without rainfall, you have famines. Without rainfall, some of the wells will dry up. Without rainfall, there's no economy, no finance. People will die of hunger, of starvation, all that. So, yes, Elijah did intervene by shutting down the whole country. He didn't shut down the country by asking for military assistance from some other country. He did not shut down the country through terrorist attacks. He used his spiritual power, which by decreeing a sentence on the country, and the sentence materialized in the physical. And it was effective. He did. Just one thing. After he intervened, he had to run because people were after his life. And Heavenly Father had to provide a place for him at the brook, where birds continuously threw leftover meat and bread for him to eat. At some point, the brook dried up because there was no rain, and he had to move on. Then Heavenly Father provided a widow to look after him. You can read all about it in the Bible yourself. But here's the thing. Moses fled because people turned on him. However, Moses was already in a position of power. He was a Pharaoh, and his police officer did not listen. So he, as a Pharaoh, was authorized, according to Egyptian law back then, to take that man's life. But here's the thing. Because what he did was so shocking, people turned on him, and the other Pharaoh, his stepdad, turned on him to have him killed. Elijah, however, had no legitimacy to the public. He was just a stranger showing up. So when they came after him, it was also fleeing, but it was a different thing. Now, Elijah had no experience governing. Why keep repeating that? Because he inflicted repercussions on the population. Well, actually, people deserved it because the people were horrible. However, there was no plan for the future. For 3.5 years, there was no rain that fell. I mean, it's one thing for you to enforce repercussions on an area for wickedness or reprobation. That's all right. But you need to have a plan how to resolve the situation. Because remember, not all the people that live in the kingdom of Israel were wicked or reprobate. There were also children there. So, even though their father backed up Elijah, Elijah's move was not that wise. If he would have inflicted this sentence on the kingdom of Israel, and at the same time, he would be connecting with the fellow believers how to replace the current government that was there to overthrow Ahab and his royal house and replace them with more quality people who care about the public, okay, that would be something worthwhile. But you don't just do the action, then run away, and the consequences keep continuing. I don't look after it anymore. You don't do that. So, in short, Elijah was not that smart in how he dealt with the situation. Nevertheless, the Heavenly Father backed him up. So understand the following. Just because the Heavenly Father backs up a believer does not mean the acting believer is all right, or the acting believer is recommendable. It was good and the right thing for Elijah to intervene by shutting down the country. Hell yeah. But what was not recommendable and where Elijah failed was there needs to be a follow-up plan how to deal with the situation. Because now for 3.5 years, the whole country was wasted. Now, eventually, Heavenly told him, Elijah, go back to public because I want to give back rain. So then my father told me, Elijah, this needs to stop. Now, then father was not attacking Elijah. He was showing Elijah, we need to move on from this. So, understand the following. Moses understood there needs to be a plan. There needs to be something to work towards. And the plans have to be flexible because you can't be fixed on the one thing. Elijah didn't even think about the plan. They didn't even think about the follow-up. He did not. Yet, a lot of people today keep praising Elijah. Listen, Elijah, it was honorable what he did, intervening by shutting down the country. However, what was unwise of him was by giving the wicked opportunity to make excuses against Elijah. Think about it. For 3.5 years, there was no rainfall. The priests, the 450 priests of Baal, and from the other priests in the groves, those 850 pagan priests couldn't do anything. So there was already proof that these gods they were worshiping were nothing. But guess what? The sky was still dry, and the problem was still there. So eventually, their father pushed Elijah to go back, and rain fell again. And guess what? The people went back to business as usual. Why? Because think about it. What did Elijah offer to the people? After 3.5 years, my father had to say, Elijah, go back to public. If Elijah didn't do it, maybe 10 years would have passed by. And a lot portion of people would have died out, whatever. We don't know. Look, Elijah did not offer anything as an alternative. Yet the wicked King Ahab and his wicked wife Jezebel there, and the wicked royal house of Ahab over there, yet the priests of Baal, yet all these pagan households with a sway of the public, they were all there before Elijah appeared and judged the country. During the judgment, they were still there, and after judgment, they were still there too. What did Elijah think that suddenly, after demonstrating the power of God, that all these people can suddenly change for the better and become better and safer people? I mean, look, Elijah should have known better. You cannot block a problem without offering something better in return. Okay, let's say now you have children being abused by their parents, and you arrest the parents for child abuse, rightfully so, they have to go to prison. But the children are now homeless on the street. They have no foster family to look after them, or there's nobody to look after children. In this case, you did the right thing, arresting his parents. But now there's nobody to look after children, and children can't look after themselves. So you actually made it worse for the children now. That's a similar thing that Elijah did. The intervention was one thing, but he had to minister an alternative to the public, and he didn't do that. Now, Elisha, another prophet who succeeded Elijah, worked on an alternative. However, it was kind of too late already, because the failure of Elijah to minister an alternative, it kind of gave people an excuse to blaspheme the Heavenly Father. What I'm saying is, we cannot control how people will react or respond towards us. We cannot. We can use our leverage to keep them in check where we can, but we cannot change people for the better on the inside. We can't do that. What we can do is make sure people have no excuse to use anything against us. And Moses was good at this. Moses understood this. Elijah did not. And now, let's go to what happened in the book of Mark. So Jesus came down from the mountain with the 3 disciples. I believe it was John, James, and Peter. And the other disciples couldn't kick out an evil spirit from a young man. And there was a lot of, and the scribes were there. And beside the scribes being there, who were at the leading function in the community, a lot of the people there too. So the failure of the disciples to kick out the evil spirits, it was an embarrassment. So when Jesus came, the public were putting pressure on him to do something about this. Jesus addressed the father of the young man, and he addressed the unbelief. And Christ was annoyed at the unbelief of the people. He really was upset about it. Eventually, the father of the young man even admitted that he needs help with his unbelief. He even admitted that, okay, I need something about me needs to change. And after the father admitted that, Jesus healed his son. When the disciples came to ask him, Lord, how come we couldn't do it? And Jesus told them, this kind does not go out except through fasting and prayer. What kind? This type of demonic activity. So, what Christ was saying is that, look, you guys could not kick out the evil spirit because of the unbelief of his father. Besides that, there was also unbelief from the public around you. The unbelief, or better said, the bitterness of these people became a weight that hindered you. So, Christ actually told them, listen, you guys were so focused on yourselves. But remember, apart from me, you can do nothing. You operate in my strength, not your own. So you have to do this my way for it to succeed. You were being resisted by the public's unbelief. You cannot take away the unbelief from the public. They need to give it up. You cannot change people for the better. You can't change them. However, you do have to deal with the situation. In this case, there was a problem that wouldn't go away because the problem was the result of the people's unbelief. The unbelief or bitterness of the people fed the evil spirit. And evil spirit was active, causing the problem in the physical. Now, it's good you guys focus on getting rid of the evil spirit. But evil spirit was put there by the public's unbelief. So by fighting the evil spirit, you were actually fighting the whole population there. That was in unbelief. But you guys were so focused on evil spirit, you thought, what goes on over here? The population placed the demon there. The demon was there because of the public's bitterness. Now, the public did not literally summon the demon and give an assignment to this and that. Nevertheless, the unbelief or best bitterness of the people powered the demon to be active over there. So what you had to do was to realize, okay, this demon is being powered by the public. So even if we were able to kick out this evil spirit, another demon would take its place easily. And the demon had backup from the human population. So we have to deal with the human population. But how? We can't change them. We can't stop them from being bitter. But what do? We go into fasting and prayer. And we're going to trigger repercussions on the people for their bitterness. And when the repercussions materialize and affect them, the people get exhausted, the people get dealt with, the resistance crashes. And once the resistance crashes, now the demons have no backup anymore, and now the problem will dissolve. Now, this is not with everything in life, but he said there are some problems or difficulties in life that will only be resolved through fasting and prayer, because that problem or difficulty is the result of the public's bitterness. I don't know your life. I don't even know who is listening to this message. Just understand. Some of the difficulties you have in your life, you're doing the best you can to fix it. It could be something financial, and you applied for 400 jobs already. None of them accepted you. It could be you went into therapy multiple times. Or it could be that there's an issue with one of your children, and you're reading books, whatever you can, to fix what goes on with my children. Maybe it's your marriage. You think, why is the marriage not working? Why things keep going wrong? I don't know what goes on with you. Maybe it's to do with your business. You haven't had sales in months, and you're about to file bankruptcy and think, what can I do? What can I do? What are we doing wrong? And you're almost fainting because you're saying, oh, I tried everything I could. Listen, it's good that you are making effort to do something about the situation. I admire that. That's honorable. Kudos for you. Good. Just know, you likely misdiagnosed your situation. You likely blamed yourself for the situation. Okay, maybe you have a part in the situation, but just because you have a part in it doesn't mean it's all on you. You need to look at the whole situation. But because you only looked at your part, and you were fighting doing your part, and things still don't work out, you not thought, okay, am I failing doing wrong? Listen, what's wrong is that you think it's you. It ain't you. If you did your part, then it's not you anymore. You did your part. Okay, what is going on then? There are groups of people out there who are powering this problem. Now, either these people improve through repentance and become better, safer people, and they comply with the solution and things get better, or they need to be forced through spiritual repercussions to work with a solution. And that will likely be at their expense, but that's on them. And that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy. To confront these people in person, it may lead to physical violence, it may lead to people being injured, hurt, or people dying, people go to prison, all that, so you don't do that. And it's a waste of time because these people are not going to, a lot of them are not going to change. What you do is, you go into prayer and fasting, and you decree and declare fiercely against the root of the problem, and you decree and declare backfire all the people that are behind this, all that. When you do all of this in dedication, you are going to hear later on that behind the scenes there were all types of horrible things happening. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say now you have a nephew, and the nephew has an addiction problem, and the nephew is in rehab. But now that the nephew is clean from the drugs, now he has all types of seizures all the time. Then he got medication for the seizures, but now suddenly he has hallucinations. We realized, hold on a minute, there's always some health issue afflicting my nephew. It's like he can't go a day without any problems. And your nephew had to be taken into a mental hospital because he became so depressed that he wanted to end it all. So you thought, okay, something needs to be done about my nephew now. What the hell is going on here? You begin to pray and pray and pray for your nephew. When you keep praying, your aunt pops up into your head. Which is his old aunt, but your aunt pops up. And you think, well, that's my aunt come to my mind. You keep praying, praying, and praying for your nephew, decree and declare, and suddenly your aunt keeps popping up. And you think, why the heck does my aunt keep popping up? So you go and check what's going on with your aunt. When you're about to call her, you feel like, don't call your aunt. So you didn't. You looked her up on social media. And then you found out that your aunt had just opened a new business. And the business was doing quite well. And you think, wow. You check the date that the business was established. I realized, hold on a minute. The business was established 2 years ago. For the first 3 months, nothing happened. After the 4th month, everything went well. And then you realize the business began to thrive around the same time your nephew developed that drug addiction. And you notice that anytime your nephew is working on himself, your aunt comes by, so-called to support him. And you thought, okay. You didn't catch it yet. You keep praying and praying and praying. As one day you hear your aunt fell off a stair. She's in the hospital. Then you hear 2 of her employees quit. Then you hear suddenly a lot of her customers began to complain, send their products back. And while all this is happening, you notice that the health issues of your nephew disappeared. I think, hold on a minute. I began to pray, decree, declare, really making effort spiritually for my nephew because he was really in a very bad situation. Around the same time, my aunt fell off the stairs. She was in the hospital. She broke her leg. Her business crashed. She lost her reputation. Now she has court cases. At the same time, there are zero health issues with my nephew. And you tell this to some of your friends, and one of them is well, not really a close friend. One of them is into paganism, and he tells you, "Yo, Roger, I'm not a believer. I'm not following Christ. I'm following you know what. But even though even though I'm not follow Christ, let me just tell you one thing, man. Remember when Jesus said that this kind, let's go out through fasting and prayer. I think it's about the situation, y'all. In mysticism that I'm part of, it sometimes happens that people will look for a spiritual scapegoat to put all their weight upon. Let's say someone does a charm, financial charm. But of course, there's going to be a side effect with a charm. They can transfer the side effect onto a selected victim. That's something some people do. And you hear that, they go, oh, really? And then that guy told you, listen, I know you don't agree with my lifestyle, with the bigness, all that, but let me tell you, your aunt is a witch, for sure. I got the creeps when he told me all of this. Your aunt, I dare to say, she is the reason why your nephew is declining. Haven't you known that she's the first one always to check how he is doing? How come his own parents don't do that and the rest of your family? Not even his own friends do that. How come she's the main one asking how he's doing? Because she is the one behind his decline. He is declining as a result of spells she did, so that the negative tension of her charm would fall onto him and she would be built out from these side effects and she could enjoy her cash. That's what goes on. Now that you kept praying about it, you delve the root of it. Now, that's just one example. So understand this. You have to look at the bigger picture. There are a lot of you who are hearing this audio message right now, and you had problems escalating, getting worse and worse, injuries increasing in your life. And I don't blame you. It's not your fault. But just because it's not your fault doesn't mean that you're part of it. You misdiagnosed the situation. Thing is all you. You need to do better or whatever. Some of you misdiagnosed the situation, oh, it's all about that other individual over there. What you forget was, what about the rest of the population? What are they doing? People don't have to know you personally, even though you exist. If they are in negativity and they make negativity into the Earth's atmosphere, that negativity will have a harmful effect on others. And it could be that you are becoming collateral damage of the public's unbelief. So you have to deal with this spiritually in an effective way. You can't guarantee all these people improve, become better human beings. You can't. Some will even get worse. That's why you need to enforce repercussions on them. Exhaust them. Force them to work in your favor in Christ's mighty name. You need to do all of these things. Too many of you are not fasting, praying the right way. Fasting doesn't just mean not eating anything, not drinking anything, and just reading the Bible without any context. Fasting prayer means you're spiritually active. And you put other activities aside to be focused on your spiritual activity, and you are dealing with strongholds and the root of problems. You're forcing things to happen. That's what fasting should be all about. No. Oh, it's almost 40 minutes. I only tend to make it 10 minutes. But anyway, it's 4 times longer. I don't mind. Listen to this audio message. Again, take notes and put this into practice, please. Fasting and prayer is far important than you realize. And please, do not be like the prophet Elijah. Don't even be like Moses. Be like Christ. Be inspired by Moses. Be inspired by Moses, learn from Elijah, and look up to Christ. Christ is the one we follow. He is Lord. So for now, keep agreeing with Christ. Hit the like button. Share. share this video. Also, donate the links below. Check my mom's Amazon. And I'll see you next time. Shalom.